services to local businesses and entrepreneurs. David Vargas lives in Clinton, Georgia, and hails from Boston, Massachusetts, where he owned and operated several successful ventures, and is a United States Army Vietnam veteran. Mr. Vargas is a public speaker, organizational trainer, community activist, avid property, a published author, a mentor to young sales professionals, and a member of the Johns Creek, Georgia Veterans and the Atlanta Vietnam Veterans Business Association. David, thank you for being on the show today.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. So, David, when did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
When my father came to this country, he landed in New York, and he worked for the Waldorf Astoria as a busboy and a dishwasher.
Ah.
And that was back in late 40s. And they came up to Boston. They were both carpenters and painters back in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
So they figured that they could do better up in Massachusetts. They landed in Boston. There's 14 in my family. And as little children, my father used to take us to work with him, on and off, when we could.
Mm-hmm.
And we were as little helping up. And as I got older, I think I was probably about 8 or 9, I had a friend who said he was going to the Navy Yard in Boston one Saturday morning to shine shoes. He had his own shoe shine kit. So I borrowed my father's without him knowing. And we went to the Navy Yard, and we spent most of the day there, and shining shoes. And I made a lot of money. We made a lot of money for our age,
Right.
A lot of money could have been $2 or $3 at that time, but they were all nickels and pennies. But that's when I knew that I had something. I used to stand out in front of the grocery stores with a shopping cart, with a cart my father made, 4 wheels and everything, and offered to take people's groceries home for them, And people would pay me a nickel, 10 cents, just to put their groceries, and I'd pull the cart, take it to their house, and help them take it in the house. So it was a very young age.
Yeah.
Very young age, I started saying that if I worked, I wasn't old enough to get a job, but if I did errands, I delivered newspapers, to families. I had a newspaper route. And I didn't make much, so I decided that wasn't for me. And throughout my life, I've always felt that I could work for myself. I worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
I took risks.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that as a child. I took risks. I did things that most young boys don't do.
Mm-hmm.
Swings, jumping off cliffs into the water, in the quarries and stuff. And then later in life, I went in the service, and went to Vietnam, came home, and took a course in radio and television repair, and got my license, state license, got my master's technician's license, and I opened up a business when I was 21, radio and television business when I was 21.
My goodness.
And on and off, I was in for 25 years, either in the television business, if it wasn't good, the economy slowed down, I would close it up and go and work for corporate, work for the big manufacturers, television manufacturers.
Yeah.
And when the economy got better, I felt it was better, or it was time for me to move on, I'd open up another television business. And then probably about 1985, I realized that we didn't have any more manufacturing companies in the United States.
Yeah.
We became a disposable society because it was much easier to buy a new one than to repair it.
Right.
And I could see the writing on the wall. And at the time, I had a television company. It was pretty big. I had about 8 or 9 people working for me in the shop, and about 2 or 3 people on the road. And it was just wasn't sustainable, no matter what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to close. But prior to closing, I decided I wanted to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the advantage of the GI Bill.
Yeah.
And we went to the University of Massachusetts and got a degree in business management with a concentration on management information systems, which is computers.
Yeah.
And then I started working and for large corporations and support services. Then one day I decided that I think I can do this on my own. And so I learned a lot of web technology,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned an awful lot in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am with the Vargas Group. We offer business consulting services to small businesses, startups,
Yeah.
how to get them started.
Right.
And that's how, I always felt that I could be on my own and be successful if I just applied what I learned.
Mm. And what is the difference, speaking of being corporate and an entrepreneur, what's the difference between corporate employment and being an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship?
When you work in corporate America for any business, when you work for someone, you have certain guarantees.
Mm.
You have a job. And you have a paycheck, and you have some benefits.
Yes.
When you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, no matter what level, you have to generate that for yourself.
That's right.
You have to generate revenue to pay for your benefits, for your insurance, for your health insurance. And it's 24/7. It never shuts off. For me, it never does.
Right.
Whether I'm on vacation, whether I'm out to dinner. Fortunately for me, I have a great wife, a great family, who understands what I'm trying to do, and supports that. And when times are slow, I have that opportunity to reconnect with my family. My family is always first, no matter what I'm doing. But it's not to say that my mind is not always trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing on this side.
Right,
so
right.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
And if you're if you do it right, it can be fun. It can be fun. Corporate America gives you those things. Being an entrepreneur, you have to wear many hats until you're able to hire people. My wife is a marriage family therapist, and so what we do, we offer a service called family business therapy. There are about 5.6 million family-owned businesses in the United States, and most of them are struggling. They've never set up expectations, the boundaries, where is home, where is work.
Right.
And we've been together for a long time, my wife and I. So we haven't really, let's say, nailed it when it comes to separation of those two entities. But we have come pretty close to and being comfortable on what we've discovered and how we handle it. So what we decided to do about 2 years ago is to provide that service to other people. We did some planning. We did a business plan on family business therapy. And when we go in is we analyze the business. They call us, and we analyze the business to find out where the problems are. Whether it's the business, if it is the business, if it is marketing, if it is sales, if it is employees, whatever it is on the business side, we identify that. If it's on the family side, my wife and I can identify that. She usually handles that side. We get together. We come up with a strategy for the business to integrate those correctly and set up the proper boundaries.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now, like you said, you do work in the corporate area, and tell us, you said you learned a lot from corporate America. Can you give us an example of something?
Corporate America taught me proper planning, how to plan, strategy. You have to have a plan and strategy. They're both totally different. Planning is, this is what I have to sell, and this is how I'm going to sell it, and this is what I'm going to sell it to. The strategy is how you're going to get to those steps.
Right.
The sales goals, manufacturing, how you set up whatever you're doing, your facilities, and why you're doing that. The planning, the proper planning. A lot of entrepreneurs and quite a few businesses have a plan, like an aim, but they don't shoot. They just have this aversion to spending on something that is a risk. they don't have, either they don't have the time to waste it, or the people, or the revenue. It's all those factors. So corporate America taught me how to plan and execute, and the steps for that, and the people, the right people to bring to the table to help you do that. And it's not, you can't do it by yourself. You shouldn't do it by yourself. You should have people, partners in the marketplace to help you do some of the execution.
Exactly. And in your opinion, what are the characteristics of an entrepreneur? What do people need to become an entrepreneur?
Well, they have to have an idea that's unique in the marketplace, or a service, product or a service. I always tell them, just because you have my clients, just because you know how to make apple pies, or would-be entrepreneurs, let's say, just because you have a great recipe for an apple pie. Once you get into the marketplace and you start selling them, guess what? There's going to be a lot of other people with a lot more money that are going to make apple pies. So you have to know how to make blueberry pies and muffins and donuts. So you have to understand that it's just not your product or service that's going to take you, to where you want to go. But an entrepreneur has to be a risk taker, and you have to have character and integrity, and you have to be a good salesperson.
Right.
You have to be a good salesperson. You have to know sales. A lot of people get into the business and think customers are just going to come to them. They don't. No. You have to go out there and network, and you know that.
Yes.
You know that. Networking is very critical, getting people, and you have to be a community stakeholder. You have to be someone who's willing to give up your time, some of your time, to the community when it says.
Good point, yes. Good point, yes. So how do you do your business?
I belong to the Forsyth Chamber of Commerce. Meeting a lot of people, business people, like-minded like you. It's not that you want to sell to them. They're trying to sell to you. They don't want to sell to you. It's you having some form of camaraderie. Other business people that are just like you, or similar to you, that have similar ideas or new ideas that you can learn from. So you have a place to test your market, your branding, and you'll find out very quickly when people don't talk to you that you're not doing good at these events, that people are not, that you're not branding yourself. Or maybe, you're missing something.
Yes. Right.
So you find out very quickly. And then you get on committees and you just are there to help everyone and support other people. And they do the same thing for you. And then what I see is the referrals start coming.
Yes.
And that's one way I do it, particularly. And most of the Vargas groups are referrals.
Right. David, you've given our viewers some great advice today. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Like I said, it's been my pleasure. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
You're welcome. We've been speaking with David Vargas, owner of the Vargas Group. Thank you for joining us on GBDNtv and Business Voice. I'm Diane Bojito, bringing